So today is a really good day because I get to talk about one of my favorite lenses, and it is the EF 100mm 2.8. And this lens is absolutely fantastic for an all-around shooter as long as you don't want anything wide open. It allows you to compress your background and still get a wonderful blown out background. And today we're going to be comparing it in a way to the 50mm RF to 1.2. which has been on loan for me from Canon for about 3 weeks now. So thanks to the guys over there at Canon Finland. So these two lenses are very similar and very different at the same time. The ways that they're similar is that they will both give you wonderful blown out background images, but they do it in very fundamentally different ways. As you can tell, the 100mm is at 2.8, which is still a very fast aperture, but the 50mm is at 1.2, which is like almost 3 something times as much light that ends up inside your lens. So you can do way more low light photography with the 50mm than you can with the 100 2.8. So both of these lenses produce wonderful photos, especially for portraits, but they do it for two very different reasons. The 50mm blows out the background by virtue of having a very, very wide aperture, which means that it lets in a lot more light and has a lot more bokeh because of it. Now, the 100mm does it because of background compression, which allows things in the background to be more blown out at higher f-stops. And it really allows you to isolate which part of the background you want to use for your photo, whereas the 50mm only allows you to, take in whatever you have at the 50mm range, which it does compress a little bit, but not as much as the 100mm. And this really just comes down to what type of style you want to shoot. I preferred a more compressed background because it helps blow out the image and allows me to isolate which part of the background and scenery I would like to use and how much of it will actually end up in the photo. As well, this is something that you can do with the 100mm that you can't do with the 50, but also having the 100mm allows you to be able to really blow out the background when you get closer to your subjects, whereas the 50mm will just do it wherever you are, however far away you are. So a little bit different there. 100mm 2.8 also has image stabilization that you can have inside the lens, whereas this 50mm, despite its cost and size, has not been equipped with any image stabilization. Now, the 100mm 2.8 is by far my favorite lens for pretty much most of the reasons that I've already been stating that I've enjoyed about it that are different from the 50mm. And I have got some of my best shots, especially at weddings. That's what I run around with, is the 100mm and then a 35 RF. And these two lenses combined give me the reach and the wonderful portraits that I want, along with more wide angle photos with the 35mm. I find that there's only very few times when I don't have quite enough on the low end with the 35. And the 100 allows me to take all sorts of photos that, while you can take with the 50, I feel like the 100 just takes them a little bit better for the same reasons that so many wedding photographers run around with the 70 to 200, I think EF and 2.8, because it compresses the background and blows it out and you get to isolate it so much more. Now, this has nothing to do with the fact that the 100mm also has macro capabilities. It has the IS. You can also shoot at much closer ranges, and then it is also a lot more compressed in the background, which I've already said. But there's a lot more things and more versatility that you get out of having the 100mm as a first lens in this type of category of L series that is really designed to make awesome portraits. And when you pick up one, even if it's just off the shelf, it's only going to be about $1,200. Whereas if you pick it up off of someone's second hand, you can pick up one of these 100mm 2.8s for about $600 now. And if you're interested in picking up either one of these lenses, you can check down in the description. I have links to both of these lenses because they're amazing, and you can check out exactly what the price is today. so we're back at the house. We ran out of daylight outside, so we're going to be continuing the video here. The biggest things that I want to point out that's difference between these two lenses is the 50mm will allow you to take these awesome portraits that you really want, and it will allow you to do it with more of a environmental feel that you have with it. Incredibly sharp. You can get some crazy low light action with this. And it, sometimes you might not even need a flash because of that 1.2. The 100mm is I would like to say, better all around, where you can get the compression in the background, you can do macro photography, you can do photos that are much closer to the face with much more blown out, but you will need the adapter for it. And I don't think that being an EF lens takes anything away from the quality that you're gonna get out of the 100mm here. It is a fantastic price to quality, and I would definitely say it blows the 50mm out of the water for an all-around better lens. However, the 50mm will do its one task really well. So if you're thinking about picking up one of these two lenses and don't know which one to go for, you can go with the compression in the background or more of the environmental. Low light or 2.8, which is really good for low light, but even better for low light. And then, do you want to be able to do macro photography? Will you have room? Because when you're at 100mm, you have to be significantly further back to get the entire person inside the frame, up to, I don't know, 15 meters sometimes to get the entire person. Whereas the 50, you can be within, I don't know, 5-6 meters of them, and you will be able to take a picture of their entire person. These are things that you should take into consideration when buying them, and as well, you can shoot much closer to somebody with this lens, the 100, than you can with the 50. Overall, it depends on what type of photographer you are, and I hope that some of these images that I have, and personally this is what I run with, and that you've been able to take something away from that. So my name is Daniel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you can figure out what mirrorless Canon camera gear you want and how to use it better. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.